So you're thinking about buying a home in Denver and you don't know where to start, or you don't know what you don't know. And that's exactly what this video is going to talk about today. We're going to go over how to buy a home in Denver, Colorado. Now, how do I know this stuff and what makes me qualified to teach it to you? I'm Kathy Hansen, a local area realtor, and I'm also a suburban mom. Now, I've been selling real estate in the Denver metro area for 10 years now, and I'm a full-time realtor, and that's important to you. And we'll go over that later in the video, why that's so important to you to have somebody who's in the business every single day helping you out. I've also raised my 3 kids in the suburbs of Denver, so I kind of know a thing or two about the area and about buying and selling homes in Denver, Colorado. Now, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't tell you that I love doing these videos, but what I love more is helping you with your real estate needs. Now, I do field calls every day from people just like you moving here to the Denver metro area. And I'm the girl who answers the phone, answers my emails, answers the text messages. It's gonna be me. So all of my contact information is below in the details section. It's also in the comment section below. If I can be of help or a resource to you in any way with your real estate needs, please don't hesitate to reach out. That's what I'm here for. That's what I do. Now, the first step in buying a home is making the decision that you want to buy, that you want to stop renting, or that you just want to explore the possibilities. And you probably have already done that, which is why you're watching this video, right? But I'm going to share with you a quick story of a girl that I just spoke with a couple days ago. And she's got a stable job, but she's in a job or a field, a career field that notoriously doesn't make a lot of money. So she sat down and calculated how much rent she had been paying to her landlord over the last 3 years. And her number was $75,000. $75,000. When she made that realization that she just threw away $75,000, she decided, I don't care what interest rates are doing. I'm gonna look into buying a home and seeing if it's an option or a possibility for me. And she made this decision despite what interest rates are doing, because historically, real estate appreciates, and it appreciates on average of 3 to 5% a year. Now, the last couple of years, it was crazy. We were appreciating in the double digits. That is not normal. Normal appreciation is 3 to 5% a year. So this girl, had she owned her own home over the last couple of years, instead of just throwing away that $75,000, she could have earned the appreciation, she could have earned the equity in her home, and she would have received some of that money back that she paid towards her mortgage, because we know some of it goes towards interest, but some of it goes to lower the balance that you owe on the home, which is when you get that money back when you go and sell the home or close. Now, the next step in buying a home, once you've made that decision or you want to begin exploring the process, is to consult with a realtor and to have what we call is a buyer's consultation. Now, at that time, you're going to be able to learn about what is the current market doing, what is the market doing in your area, what does your money buy in different parts of town. You're able to express to your realtor or to a realtor what your wants and needs are, what your budget is, and to be able to see, is this a possibility? Do I have enough money saved? What I want and what I need, can I get that in the budget that I think that I have in the part of town that I want to be in? And you'll be able to learn about the market conditions and what it takes to write a winning offer if you're in a seller's market. Now, this phase of buying a home is the education factor. So you need to go through this part so that you get all of your ducks in a row. You are ready, you are lined up, ready to go buy a home when the time is right. What happens with a lot of people is that they just jump right in. They think it's an easy process, it's a quick process. They can say, hey, I'm gonna buy a home, and then go out and start looking at them. And that's not the way it should work, because that could just create heartaches down the road. Now, I mentioned earlier about working with a full-time realtor, somebody who's in the market each and every day, because as the market shifts, those people are able to tell because they're in the market all the time. As opposed to working with like your best friend's aunt's daughter, just because you kind of know her, or somebody who works a full-time job and then does real estate on the side. That is not in your best interest when hiring a realtor. You really want somebody who's full-time in the market each and every day. Because the average realtor, well, they sell less than 5 homes per year. Less than 5 homes per year is about 1 a quarter. And our real estate market changes, and it can change very rapidly from quarter to quarter. And if somebody's selling a home in January and then they're not back in the market until May, well, things could have completely changed. So that's why you want a full-time realtor on your side. Now, the next thing, after you speak with a realtor, you're gonna wanna get in touch with the lender. And I say speak with the realtor first, then get in touch with the lender, because the realtor is gonna be able to give you some lender resources. And it's not because the realtor makes any money off of it. They just know who does a really good job, who can close the loan on time, who does what they say they can do. So there's 2 factors with working with a lender. You can work with a big box lender like a Wells Fargo, Bank of America, big box lenders, or you can work with a local lender. And when you're working with the big banks, unfortunately here in the Denver, Colorado area, they're not looked highly upon when you're buying a home. Now, I have my mortgage with a big bank and it's been fantastic. But when I purchased my home, I didn't purchase it with a big bank. I used a local lender, because big banks, well, they kind of work on big bank time, right? They are notorious for not really meeting the dates and deadlines in contracts. Mortgage officers, they don't give out their cell phone numbers. They're sometimes more difficult to get in touch with. They're not working on real estate hours, which is typically nights and weekends. Now, a local lender, they'll give you their cell phone. They'll answer the phone at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock at night when we're writing that offer. They'll answer the phones on the weekends to answer your questions about what does my payment look like on this home that I just saw that I love and I want to write an offer on. A local lender will do those things where sometimes we have difficulties with big banks where they don't. And then in the Denver metro area, if you find yourself in a competitive offer situation and you have 2 like offers, everything is the exact same except one is a big bank, one is a local lender, that local lender's offer is gonna win probably each and every time. It's just the way it is here. So follow the steps, meet with a realtor, get their list of lenders, and realtors can work with any lender that you choose. It is up to you, but the list that they give you is just a list of people they know do a great job and close on time. So I highly suggest you go through that list. You should be getting multiple lenders so that you can speak with them all. You can find the best fit for you and a lender. And then again, there's a process to buying the home. So speak with a realtor, meet with a lender, figure out what you're qualified for, and also talk about what you want your budget to be, because what you're qualified for and what your budget is could be 2 very different things. So we want to make sure that we are aware of and we're working within your budget. And then you want to get pre-approved for your mortgage prior to getting out there looking at any home. Now, why does that matter? Because what happens is people think they have an idea of what they're approved for or what they can afford or what they can get approved for, yet they don't realize that maybe some of their income, some overtime income or an extra job or something like that, that might be income that can't be used to help you qualify for a mortgage just due to the time on the job or the irregularity of that income, or that income, you might not be able to depend on it in future years to come. So there's always things that the lender needs to work out. And because of that, I suggest don't get out there looking at properties until you get that pre-approval. Because what happens is you go out there, you start looking at properties, and then you fall in love with one, and then you can't afford that one. And then you're heartbroken. Or you go out there and look at properties in a certain price point that you think you can afford, and that's a different price point than what you're qualified for. Then you've seen these homes and you like them and you're like, sure, I can live in some of these. These are really great properties. Then we get out there into the homes that you can afford, and your sights are still set on these homes that you can't afford. So you don't like anything that fits within your budget. And so that is another issue, another problem that I see all the time. So follow the outline. Meet with a realtor, meet with a lender, get pre-approved, then go look at properties. Now, I understand there's a big education factor into what your money buys in different parts of town. So in the Denver metro area, your money is going to go further on the outskirts of town in some of the suburbs than it will in one, different suburbs, or two, maybe in Denver Metro itself. So each area, your money goes a little farther. And I know there's an education factor to that. We just don't want to get out there in person and start doing that education factor until we have that pre-approval. But once you have that pre-approval, then we're going to get you set up on property alerts so that you'll get an email each and every day of new properties that have hit the market that fall within your budget and fall within your criteria. So then we can get out there and start looking at some of these homes. Now, when you're going through the process with the lender, I suggest that you start driving around different areas, different parts of town. You start seeing, can I live in Castle Rock? Is that too far from my office? Or is Arvada better because I commute to Boulder more often? Or maybe Aurora, or maybe Littleton. Start driving around and start checking out these areas and weeding out certain suburbs or certain areas that you don't want to live in for a number of different reasons. Now, once we do get that property alert set up and we're ready to get out there looking at properties, we're going to see anywhere between 3 and 6 properties at a time. Any more than that, you start getting confused. All of the homes start running together and you can't remember, did I like this one? Did I not like that one? So 3 to 6 is a really good sweet spot for looking at properties. Now, if you're coming here from out of state and you're only here for a weekend, well, then obviously we have to bust out as many properties as possible. But if you live here and you're just buying a home for the first time, or you're relocating to a different part of town and you're already a homeowner and we've already been through this, then we really want to look at 3 to 6 properties at a time. Then once you find the home that you love and you want to write an offer on, there's a few things that we need to do up front. So first, we want to run comps. We want to make sure that just because they listed the home at that price doesn't necessarily mean it's worth that price. So we want to run comparable properties. We want to see what's happening in the market and make sure that the value is there at their list price or whatever price it is that you want to offer on the property. And then 2, I'm going to call the listing agent and I'm going to gather data from them. What is the seller looking for in an offer? What's important to them? Sometimes timelines are more important than dollar amounts. So we want to try to figure out what's important to the seller so that we can gear our offer towards that. Because we want the seller to accept our offer. You've fallen in love with the home. We want to craft a winning offer, especially if we're in a multiple offer situation. Now, once we submit that offer, the seller can do one of 3 things. They can accept the offer as it's written. They can counter the offer, so they can send us a counter proposal and making any changes that they wish to make with the offer. Or 3, they can flat out reject the offer, meaning they don't even want to work with us. And that's not the spot that we want to be in. We don't want them to flat out reject the offer. We want to be able to play ball with the seller, right? We want to make it a win-win for both sides so both parties are happy and we can move forward with you purchasing this home. So a little give and take on each side is always good, but we don't want to write an offer that's so offensive, let's say, to the seller that they flat out don't want to work with us. Okay, so now we are under contract on the home. You have won the offer. The home is going to be yours once we get through the whole contract period. The first step in the contract period is earnest money. Now this is the money that you put forward. It's held by the title company, but you put this forward to tell the seller, hey, I'm real serious about buying your home. Please take it off the market. Now, the earnest money is what the seller gets to keep if you default on the contract. Defaulting on the contract means you didn't hold up your end of the bargain. Now, our contracts here in Colorado are very, very buyer friendly, meaning a buyer can back out of the contract at certain points in the contract and get their earnest money back, as long as we're doing things according to the contract. But if you're acting outside of the contract or you simply default, don't hold up your end of the bargain, the earnest money is what the seller gets to keep. Now, I know you work really hard for that earnest money, so we don't want to lose that. So for me personally, I also have a transaction coordinator that helps as we get under contract and are working through the contract. So that way we have an additional set of eyes and ears on the contract to make sure we are adhering to all of our dates and deadlines and we are sticking in contract. We don't want to put your earnest money at risk. But the earnest money, it's typically due 3 to 4 days after you go under contract. And those funds need to be held in an account that you have easy access to, because the check you're going to write, or you can wire the funds to the title company, it needs to be readily available. Now, earnest money is 1% to 2% of the purchase price. It is negotiable, so it is something that can be negotiated in the contract, and it's something that you'll know up front as it's listed right in the MLS. So as we're out looking at properties, you'll know what is the earnest money that they're asking for on this one. Now, the next phase is the inspection phase. Now, inspection is where most deals fall apart if they're going to fall apart. Now, you as the buyer, you have every right to inspect the property for whatever it is that you wish. There are 3 common inspections that we recommend here in the Denver metro area. The first one is your general inspection, where they are going to check out the systems, they're going to check out the structure, they're going to look for safety issues, they're going to look at plumbing and electrical, they're going to look at all of those things, a general inspector. And we do recommend that you hire an outside general inspector, and again, not just go with your brother's best friend's dad because he used to be in construction years ago. Like, you definitely want to have a neutral third party that's going to show you and point out everything that they find that's wrong with the home. Now, don't get scared. These inspection reports, they could be anywhere between 30 and 70 pages because they put a lot of pictures in there. And again, remember, you've hired the inspector to find out everything they can that's wrong with the home. Some stuff might be major, there's going to be a lot of it that's going to be minor though. So general inspection is a big one. The next is the sewer scope. That's where they stick a camera down the sewer lines. They make sure that those sewer lines are clear, that there's no cracks or breaks in the sewer lines. And that is super important because sewer lines are expensive to repair. So a sewer scope inspection at this time runs about $150. I say it's like an insurance policy, right? You're gonna know right up front if there's anything wrong with those sewer lines, because if there is, we can get the seller to fix them, or we can ask the seller to fix them. Those sewer line repairs could run into the thousands of dollars. So get your sewer scope. And then the third inspection is the radon test. Now again, depending on the type of home that you do purchase, radon sewer scopes, they might be needed, they might not be needed. So definitely talk with your inspector, talk with your realtor about which of these inspections are needed on this property. Now, there are numerous other inspections that you can do, and you have the right to inspect for anything that you wish. You just have to have them all complete by a certain date. And on that date that all of the inspections need to be complete, if there's things you want to ask the seller to fix, then we send over a written notice to them. Usually we have 2 to 3 days to negotiate what is or isn't going to be repaired during this inspection phase. Then after inspection, we get into the appraisal phase. And the appraisal phase is where the bank, your lender, sends somebody out to look at the property, to value the property, to see if the value is there based on the contract price. They are very different than inspectors. They are not inspecting the property. They're looking at the property condition, they're looking at the upgrades, they're looking at the square foot, they're looking at the lot size, they're looking at those things to see if the contract price, if the value is there. Now, they're a neutral third-party appraiser that comes out, and if their appraisal doesn't come in at contract price, or if the appraiser says that property isn't worth that much, well, then we have a couple days to negotiate with the seller how we're going to handle this appraisal issue. Now, they come up sometimes, they don't come up very often, and a good realtor is going to be able to talk you, be able to talk you through that appraisal objection issue, but 2, if they've run their comps up front, they're going to have some information that they can share with maybe the appraiser as to why they came up with the value that they determined. Now, again, it's up to the appraiser, it's not up to the realtor, but they're able to chat with them and hopefully prove their point or show the information as to how they gather that information, how they came up with that price. Now, while all of this is taking place, the title company is doing their thing in the background. Now, title company will issue a title commitment, and what their job is to make sure that when you take ownership and possession of this property, that you are the only one who has ownership and possession rights to this property. So they issue a title commitment. It's an insurance policy. Title companies are insurance companies, and they're ensuring that that property is truly all yours. That's all taking place in the background. There's not much that you need to do with that, but just know that that's happening in the background as well. And then we are close to the finish line. We are getting to closing. Now here in Denver, our closing timeline for all of these things to take place once you go under contract to when you close on the property is about 30 to 45 days. So when we get to closing, you're gonna get your settlement statement a couple days ahead of time. Now your settlement statement's gonna show you how all of the financing, how all of the money has worked out in this transaction. It's gonna show you how much money you need to bring to the table, your cash to close, which will include your down payment, which will include any of the closing costs. It'll also factor in your earnest money there because your earnest money comes back at closing. So it does factor that in as a credit as well. So one of the things that I tell people all the time is don't celebrate purchasing this home until we are at closing and everybody is signing. Nothing is a done deal till all parties have signed those closing documents. So it's exciting, I understand that. When you go under contract, pop a bottle of champagne, have your favorite beverage, whatever it is you do to celebrate in a small way, do that because you've crossed a major hurdle once you found the home and you had your offer accepted. But we've got many more obstacles or many more hurdles to go through in order to get to the closing table. So don't have that big celebration until we get there. Now, during this whole process as well, there are several things that you cannot and should not do if you want to successfully get to the closing table. So you don't want to put any big purchases on your credit cards. You want to use your credit the same way you always do. So if you pay all of your bills on your credit card and then you pay it off at the end of the month, continue to do that. But don't go run out and buy new couches and new appliances and new window coverings and new bedding for your new home that you don't own yet. Don't do that. Wait until after closing to do that, especially if you're going to be charging it. The other thing, don't go co-sign for anybody. Don't co-sign on a car for your sister. Don't help out a son or a daughter with anything. You want to keep your credit situation just like it is. You don't want to make any major purchases. You don't want to co-sign for people. You don't want to do anything like that because it could hurt you in the long run. Now, I'm not saying don't do anything financially while you're buying a house. Just make sure you're speaking with your lender, you're speaking with your realtor, and that way we're doing things in the right way. So if you have large deposits or if you have cash deposits, we need to make sure that we clear those with the lender so that way we can document all of those funds coming in. It's just part of the pre-approval process through the mortgage. And again, your mortgage isn't pre-approved until you're at, well, you do get pre-approved, but the mortgage isn't complete until you're at the closing table and you've signed the documents and the loan has been funded. So we don't want to mess that up in any way. Now, I hope that this video was beneficial to you. I hope it gave you a lot of information. If I can be a resource to you, again, I'm Kathy Hansen. I'm a local area realtor. I'm a full-time realtor. I'm in the business each and every day, and I've been doing it for 10 years here in the Denver metro area. If I can help you in any way, please don't hesitate to reach out. All of my contact information will be in the details section and the comment section below. And if you could do me a favor, if you found this information helpful and beneficial, hit that like button. It helps out my channel. Please hit that like button. If you want to see more of my videos, now I post a video every other Tuesday about living in the Denver metro area and what it's like, then go ahead and hit that subscribe button as well. You'll be notified first when I post those videos. Again, if I can help you in any way, please don't hesitate to reach out. And until I see you next time, go out there and make today a great one.